And welcome back to GBA TV. It is a 5th grade semifinal game here. It's Jeremy Scott alongside my man from yesterday, Spencer Geezy.
Hey, great to be back. We've got a really exciting semifinal here. You've got the winner playing again in the championship around 5:30. So
yeah, I tell you what, we've seen both of these teams, and I tell you, whoever loses this has nothing to be ashamed of whatsoever.
no, they deserve a really good lunch. So
looking forward to this one for the Saints.
Oh, that was a rude tip, but
and that's going to be controlled by Premier, and that's French up ahead and out of bounds, and that's going to go back to the OSP Saints. So Premier is the home team, by the way. They are in the white jerseys, and wearing those maroon tanks are the Saints. And there's a quick shot. That's up. That's no good for Dye, and out of bounds it goes, and it's going to come. Yeah, it's going to remain on that end, so it will remain Kentucky Premier's ball. Jeremy Scott and Spencer Geezy here at the commentary table. Kayla Cazell on the camera. Quick shot from the right corner. That's up, and that's no good. Rebounded by the Saints. Back on the Saints on offense. OSP Saints up ahead, and they lose it. That is Dye who has control of it once again. Back down underneath. That is to French. French posts up, puts it up, and puts it in there. 2 points for French, and it's an early 2-0 Kentucky Premier lead.
You know, French has been one of those really impressive players all weekend long here at the Celtic Classic at Dublin Jerome. Oh, we've got a player up ahead.
And
did not see the pass.
Was not anticipating that. That's too bad because I tell you, she had a clear path to the bucket, and that was number 12, Lila Stewart, who they were looking for. But it was over her head. She was not aware of the pass, and so it's going to come back to Kentucky Premier, who's got that early 2-0 lead.
Yeah. Now, yesterday, both these teams went 2-0 in their pool play, and they've both won a game at 8 in the morning. So this is their second game of the day. Both are 3-0 so far in the tournament.
Props to them for being up at 8 a.m. There's a drive into the lane, and underneath it comes, and that's taken away by the Saints, and then it's taken back by Kentucky Premier. Driving it baseline and having it stripped away from her, that is Barnes. And that is a foul on the Saints. That foul on Emma Weatherwax. That is the first team foul on the Saints. And so it will be Barnes stepping up to the charity stripe for the first free throws for either team in the early going. Barnes' first shot is up, and it's short off the front of the iron. Karam's off and to the right. And so Barnes 0 for 1 so far from the foul line. Barnes, a few practice dribbles, puts it up and puts it in there. So Barnes 1 for 2 that trip to the charity stripe. It's a 3-0 Kentucky Premier lead over the Saints. And there's a full court press, and out of bounds it goes. And deflected out of bounds by Kentucky Premier. I tell you what, that swarming defense of Kentucky Premier is nothing to mess with.
And this is a swarming press. If you see, they have all 5 players in the front court. So if the OSP Saints can get the ball past half court, they're going to have a nice fast break opportunity. But first, how to get past those 5 players. We've got to travel underneath.
And that's on Addison Graham. So it's Premier inbounding underneath their own bucket. And up very quickly and getting fouled. That is number 13, McDonald. So she's going to go to the line now, and she's going to shoot a pair.
We've got 2 team fouls on the Saints on the early going. You know, and while we're getting started today, big thanks to GBA TV for broadcasting this game. I'm sure our friends in Kentucky who are cheering on Kentucky Premier are really thrilled that they can watch us online if they couldn't make this journey up to Columbus for the weekend.
And that's a big thanks to Caleb Graham, to Tom Strasser, and also to Jeff Ferguson. So I'm glad that you point that out there, Spencer, because they deserve big ups for making it happen on the administrative end of this. We couldn't do what we do without those guys. Second of 2 for McDonald, and she's not able to convert either one. That's rebounded by the Saints. Nice rebound there by Addison Graham. So 0 for 2 for McDonald from the line, and there's a steal in the backcourt. Nope, not a steal. Saints are able to get it back. There's a steal. That's French, who gives it up underneath and putting it up, and no good. Rebounded by Kentucky Premier, and they will go back to the foul line. That will be McDonald going back yet again. And that's a foul on Lila Stewart. That's the 3rd team foul on the OSP Saints, Spencer.
I think we see a trend here. This could be, we could get into a bonus situation pretty quickly on. And Saints just have to get the ball past half court. They're a talented team. They might need to recollect themselves, find a good press break strategy here. They're a press break away from success.
McDonald misses on her first free throw attempt. She's 0 for 3 in the early going here. We haven't even played 2 minutes of basketball.
Again, I bet I know what they're going to be working on in practice this week.
McDonald's second shot, she's finally able to convert one, so it's 4-0. Premier over the Saints. And there's that full court press we've been talking about.
There it is. Past the middle, need to swing it around, could not get it over.
Stolen away yet again, and underneath it comes, and then that one's stolen away by the Saints. That is
Aaron Murray
on the steal. Up ahead, that's Addison Graham, and she's looking, and it's over the head of the intended receiver, and out of bounds. She was looking for Emma Weatherwax down low on the baseline, but Weatherwax not quite able to reach up and grab it, and so it comes back to Kentucky Premier. And if you're wondering why they have the Sparks jerseys, they're in the process of changing their name. They don't have the Kentucky Premier jerseys yet, and so that's why it says Sparks on their jerseys. And that is French up top. She is guarded there by Stewart.
And don't worry, that OSP Saints team, their Ohio Sports Plus jerseys will be in this week. So it's an early on tournament, week 2 of GBA action. And many of these teams who are organized enough to be in the tournament might not be organized enough to get their jersey order in. But
baseline shot there by French. Sorry about that.
But we're playing basketball, and that's what's important.
And that's taken away. That's taken away by Combs. There's an outside shot for French, and almost gets it to go. Not quite, though. And rebounded on the offensive side. There's a second shot opportunity. That is up, and that is good. That's a 2-point bucket there for number 12 Barnes, and it's a 6-0 lead for Kentucky Premier. Yep. And an early timeout will be called by the Saints bench. And so it will be a timeout on the floor, and you're watching this right here on GBA TV. Back to the action here at Dublin Jerome High School. It's court number 1, the site of the semifinal game, 5th grade girls semifinal basketball here.
Let's see what Coach Kelly Murray drew up in her timeout. They've got a nice little 4-cross press break set up, working to move the ball side to side.
And taken away by Dye.
Deflection by Dye leads to the turnover.
Yeast gives it off. That's French back underneath to Dye in the low post.
Oh, they've got put underneath wide open.
And that's Yeast. Yeast with a shot. That's up, and Karam's out. That's no good. Rebounded by Murray. And Murray's got it, and again, there's that press, and they're able to get it close to the half-court line, and there's that Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, there's another line they got a little too close to over there, and that's called the sideline.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that has just been a demon for every single team we've seen so far.
It certainly is. You get to the curtain side of the court, it's a lot shorter than you imagine.
So that's Dye playing the point for Kentucky Premier. Over to Yeast on the right wing. And back on the left wing, that is French.
OSP Saints in a matchup defense.
Pivot, move, it's good. McDonald for 2, 8-0 the score. Premier over the Saints. So OSP on offense. They do get it past that half-court line.
Holy smokes, we broke half-court, folks. It's exciting. Oh,
underneath it comes, and it deflected out of bounds by Yeast, so it will remain Saints ball.
You know, sometimes just getting the ball over half court that first time can really build confidence for a team at this age group.
Rogers in, and number 21, is that Conzila? Out? I do believe so. Anyway, on the inbounds pass, there's a loose ball, there's a scrum for it, there's a tie-up, and that tie-up is going to favor Kentucky Premier, it looks like.
We're gonna stay black ball on this end.
I thought they said white ball. That's Addison Graham who will be doing the inbounding. And there's a steal. That's stolen away. Nope, it's not stolen away. There was a loose ball, but they're able to get it back. Are the Saints. Underneath it comes, and then that one's almost intercepted. Out of bounds it goes. And they're going to say that was off of Dye. Graham to inbound again. This time underneath her own hoop. She gets it into Murray. Murray. Up top, she's guarded by Dye. Yuri gets a nice little pick there, courtesy of Graham. And then it's taken away by Premier. That's Dye pushing it to the other end. Dye all the way up and no good. Rebounded by McDonald. She puts it back up. That's no good. McDonald gets her own rebound outside to French. French a pump fake. She bounce passes to the low post. Up for Dye, and that one doesn't fall for her either. And hitting the ground, she's going to be called for a travel. She got the rebound, did Lila Stewart, but she will be called for a travel because she did not dribble it as she was going down. That's an unfortunate rule, but it is the rule. And so we'll come back to Kentucky Premier. It will be Yeast to do the inbounding. Yeast underneath her own hoop. Bounce pass in to McDonald. Up top it comes to Combs. Combs taking it into the paint, passing it off to McDonald. Bank shot no good, rebounded by Hunt. And there's a steal by Combs. Combs gets it back. There's a long three-pointer. That one is going to rim out. That was Dye with a not a bad-looking shot.
No, and that had that backspin. You thought, ooh, that might kick up and then kick in, but no luck.
That's a pretty powerful shot for someone who's, what, 10 years old?
Well, we always say, shot comes from the legs. A lot of people think it's the arms. You got to have that leg strength.
So inbounds it comes for the Saints. Bringing the ball for that is Graham. And she gives it to Weatherwax. Little teamwork here to make it happen, and that one might go out of bounds, and it will go out of bounds, and it's going to go over everybody's head and back to Kentucky Premier.
Had 3 players back there, but none in the vicinity to catch that pass.
We're at 6:35 to play here in this opening half. It's Jeremy Scott alongside Spencer Geezy. Here at court number 1 at Dublin Jerome High School. Dye on the drive. She's going to take it and then try to bounce it out to French, and she does.
And despite these jerseys, this is Ohio Sports Plus in the black and Kentucky Premier in the white. It might not say it on the jerseys, but those are these teams today.
Back outside to French. French on the drive, and she gets tripped up. No foul called. It's going to come back. That's a turnover. And that is Yeast on the drive. She puts it up and in. T. Yeast. 10-0 the score. Premier over OSP Saints. And there's a steal. That's stolen away, and that's a steal by French. French has it. French on the drive. She is going to get fouled. And that's going to be the 4th team foul on the Saints.
See who that foul was on, Jeremy?
I did not.
That is going to be the 2nd foul on number 3 for the Saints.
Emma Weatherwax. All right, so.
And that's a team 4th. And Emma's getting having a little chat with the referee. I hope it's a nice one. You know, this is the age group where if you've got referees that can help instruct and tell your players what they need to work on to help them not get called for as many fouls. It's really helpful feedback to have a young player.
So, French at the line. That's a shot that's up, and that's an air ball. These referees, what is the background of these guys for the most part? Guys and gals, I should say.
You know, that is an excellent question. As a longtime coach in the spring circuit in Columbus, we see a lot of familiar faces. There are, for the most part, high school Ohio High School Athletic Association certified referees, and they work with an assigner that works with GBA to assign referees to each weekend tournament.
So these guys know of what they speak.
They do. Not only do they know what they speak, but they've been in these types of tournaments before. Often, the pressure in refereeing at a GBA tournament or any type of weekend travel tournament is keeping the game on schedule while also keeping the game clean. And that is really the balance that they're working to keep when it comes to game management as a referee. And
there's a timeout on the floor. Kentucky Premier calls that timeout as they just picked up their 1st team foul. That one on French. We'll go ahead and take that timeout with them with 5:25 to play here in the opening half. You're watching it right here on GBA TV. Back to game action here. It's Kentucky Premier 10, OSP Saints nothing, with the Saints with possession.
And Murray surveying the floor. Looks like we've got Kentucky Premier in a 1-3-1 zone defense.
Murray,
pretty tough one to see.
Trapped in the
as
corner.
A fifth grader.
Has it poked away from her. That's Hunt who ends up with it. Hunt down low, and she's tied up, and that's going to be taken away from her by Dye. Dye has it on offense for Kentucky Premier. Dribbling it into the front court, she comes. Dye going to take it herself coast to coast, put it up, and in there. 2 more for Dye. 12-0. Kentucky Premier leads OSP Saints with another timeout on the floor right here on GBA TV. $12-0 the score. It's Kentucky Premier leading the OSP Saints in this 5th grade girls semifinal game here at Dublin Jerome High School. It's Jeremy Scott, Spencer Giese, Kayla Cazell on the camera. And glad to be bringing this to you live on GBA TV, on Facebook and YouTube.
And all that credit really goes to Kayla. We don't have her, we don't have a game to watch. So you don't want to hear a radio broadcast of us, you want to see the game. So
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kayla.
Up top it comes. That's to Krosky. Krosky at the point. She's pivoting. She's got Combs glued to her. And there's a double team. That's a double team on Murray. Murray trapped. Murray looking for somebody to pass it to, and it's going to get knocked out of bounds. And she got lucky on that one.
She did. She's over on that curtain side, and that is a dangerous place to be stuck without your dribble.
So out of bounds. It will be Krosky to inbound it. Krosky. Cross-court pass going to be stolen away by Yeast. Yeast taking it to the other end. Yeast laying it up, and Yeast putting it in. That's the
what
fourth
a nice
point for
finish
T.
on
Yeast.
that full-speed, full-court layup by Yeast.
14-0. Aaron Murray. Again, they contain her, and they steal the ball away. That's Combs up ahead to Yeast. Yeast going to fade away, and she's going to get fouled on that shot. So T. Yeast is going to head to the free throw line for a pair of foul shots. That's the 15th foul on the OSP Saints.
And that foul was on player number 5 for the Saints, Sarah Krosky. You know, this Celtic Classic that GBA hosts, long history of Kentucky Premier bringing their teams here. It's one of their first tournaments of the year typically for their program. So, and they have owned this gym for years, regardless of the grade level they're bringing up here. So, having another successful tournament, here they are up 15-0 in their semifinal for 5th grade girls.
T. Yeast makes the first shot, and the second shot rims out, but that's a rebound by French. And outside it comes. That's a long three-pointer, up and good. Combs for 3, 18-0 the score. So the Saints back on offense. That's Hannah Hunt. Inside it comes, and that's a pass that's going to be stolen away by McDonald. So McDonald has it for Premier. To the right. Combs going to attempt another three and sinks it. 21-0. Blackjack for Kentucky Premier. Timeout on the floor. And we have 2 minutes, 58 seconds to go in this opening half of action. Back after this on GBA TV.
This is Tom Strasser from GBA TV Studios at the 14th Annual Celtic Classic here at Dublin Jerome. And you're watching GBA TV on Facebook and YouTube, where you are watching over 20 hours of live streaming games as well as interviews from players and coaches here at the Celtic Classic.
Back with the action here. Dublin Jerome High School, court number 1, 5th grade girls semifinal game. Kentucky Premier leads the OSP Saints 21-0. Jeremy Scott, Spencer Giese. And the Saints are on offense. There's a cross-court pass, kind of an errant pass, hung up there for a really long time. It's going to be Kentucky Premier getting this one, taking it to the other end. That's Barnes, up and good. Barnes with 5 points, 23-0. Premier leads the OSP Saints.
Kelly Murray bringing up Aaron Murray with the ball, bringing up down the court. Pass inside, kick out to the wing.
That one no good. And underneath the basket, and who are they going to say that's off? Is that off of Hunt? Nope, it's going to be off of Kentucky Premier.
Oh, stack play. Had a player open on the left block.
Nice job, though, to get that ball up, and going up with that was Elizabeth Hunt. Now she will go to the line, and she will be shooting a pair, because I do believe that foul was on number 12, Barnes. I do believe that was a signal from the man in the striped shirt. Elizabeth Hunt. Is she a little far away from that foul line?
You know, we might want to find that. Teammate might want to help scoot her up just a little bit. Oh, here we go. We've got a referee showing her the line.
Is she saying no? She wants to shoot it from that far back?
Well, you know, key free throw component. If you're a 5th grader, you might be leaving the ground to shoot that. And if you jump, you want to give yourself a little landing, because if you jump over the line and land over the line, that is a violation. So
factual.
We'll see if she gets a little push off that. Yep. Oh, nuts.
Air ball, and so it's going to go back to Kentucky Premier.
Still not taking the lid off the basket on this end. Thank goodness they give this basket to the Kentucky Premier team in the second half, so maybe they'll have the same problem.
If you can't tell, Spencer is familiar with this OSP team. And that is Combs who's got it. Over to the left, that is Barnes. Back up top. Combs almost had it stolen away from her by Graham. Into the right corner. That's going to be a three-point attempt by Dye. Up, no good. Rebounded by Barnes outside to Combs. Combs, who has a couple of three-pointers of her own this half.
Combs
over
still
to
in
Yeast.
heating up status if you're an NBA Jam fan. So we're seeing if she can get that 3rd shot in a row to go in.
And that one's going to go out of bounds and is going to come back to the OSP Saints. Too bad nobody at this level can dunk, because then we could break out a boom shakalaka.
You know, I've seen a few of these Kentucky Premier players make layups that are boom shakalaka worthy.
Saints back on offense. And that is Conzila. She's got it, and she has it poked away from her by Yeast. Yeast has it on that left-hand side. She has it poked out of bounds, and it's going to remain Kentucky Premier's ball.
Now, I'll tell you, those of you watching at home, you may think, wow, 23-0, that is quite the deficit. But really, this is a great lesson-learning game for this OSP Saints team. Find out what some top competition looks like outside of the city of Columbus, and really it will be interesting to see their resiliency, how they're able to stick with this, keep playing hard throughout the game.
We're at about a minute to go here in this first half.
Weave offense here by Kentucky Premier, waiting for the defender to sag off and then hit someone inside.
Man, I'll tell you what, that kind of weave makes me want to sing Sweet Georgia Brown. Driving it and putting it up and missing that. That's Barnes. And is there a foul call? Yeah, there's a whistle.
Looks like that's going to be on number 21 for the Saints.
And that is Addie Conzila. And that was some Harlem Globetrotters-like movement there by the Kentucky Premier team.
It was, you know, the weave offense, we've seen that at a number of grade levels at this tournament. You know, some of the new offenses you're seeing more and more on these travel teams. A lot of teams moving to a 5-out, a weave offense. The days of the 3-guard, 2-post motion are long gone.
So it'll be McDonald stepping up to the line. She is 1 of 4. That's a 25% shooting effort so far for McDonald from the charity stripe as she puts up the first shot, and that is no good. That's a 1-and-1 as McDonald is going to be now 1 of 5, and that's stolen away by Combs. Combs has it for Kentucky Premier. Combs with a bounce pass underneath. Nice looking pass, nice looking shot. That is Dye for 2, 25-0. And we are now under a minute to play here in this first half. As a matter of fact, we're under 30 seconds to play in this first half. 25-0 is the score. We'll see if the Saints are able to stop the bleeding here before the end And there's a shot. That's up and that's good. What a nice shot there by Emma Weatherwax for three.
What a nice job by the announcer making that shot go in the hoop for them. Way to go, Jeremy, to call that out before it went in.
And actually, they're going to call that a two-pointer. But Emma Weatherwax with a nice shot. And then that one.
That was French with a nice drive on the left side finish right before the buzzer. And that is the first half.
And that will do it with the score 27-2. Kentucky Premier leading the OSP Saints. Back with the second half right here on GBA TV. All right, back here with the action. It's the second half. Kentucky Premier leads OSP Saints 27-2. And it's Premier on offense. French underneath to Dye. Dye looking for somebody to pass to. No, she's going to put it up, and she's going to have it hit the bottom of the backboard. And there's a tie-up. This one will favor the OSP Saints. So the Saints hold Premier scoreless on their first possession this half.
And your OSP Saints, that's your Ohio Sports Plus program for the 5th grade group. Each team in their program gets to name themselves. They chose Saints as their name. We've got a lot of players that actually go to Catholic school and play in the diocese in Columbus, and now they're playing their spring season together. So really fun to keep these kids together and allow them to find a name for themselves. Another nice layup by Kentucky Premier.
That is Dye with her 6th point of the ball game, 29-2 the score. Of course, running clock here in the second half. as long as Premier is up by 20 or more. And right now they're ahead by 27.
Premier in a 2-3 zone.
There's a shot that's up. That's no good. That's taken by Premier. Back comes Premier on offense.
Up
ahead to
pass.
Combs.
Wow.
Look at that. Layup up and good. 8 points for Combs. It's a 31-2 score.
And officially that's Combs' third straight make. She followed that layup up after 2 threes in the first half. So NBA Jam terms, she's on fire.
31-2 is the score. That is Lila Stewart who's got it in the right wing. That's stolen away by Hadley French. French pushing it to the other end. French with the layup and good.
And you might not know it, but Hadley French, right before this game prior, she was in a 6th grade game on court 4. So completed that game, had a few minutes off, and now she's back out here hooping. I would make sure she drinks a lot of Gatorade tonight.
She's earned it for sure. And that is Erin Murray with a shot. That's up, and that is an air ball, and that's going to go underneath, and it's going to be taken by OSP Saints. Good job by them to save that, and then there's a tie-up, and that's going to favor Kentucky Premier. So the possession arrow is going to point the other way, so we'll go the other direction with this one. And we are under 10 minutes to play with this running clock being a factor here in the second half. Combs giving it off to Dye. Underneath to French. French in the low post, going to dish it back to Dye with a nice little pump fake there. She puts it up with the runner, and that's no good. Rebounded by McDonald. She's going to put it back up. That's no good. Dishes outside to Barnes. Barnes with a shot. That's up. That's no good. And it's rebounded by the OSP Saints. That's Weatherwax on that rebound, and she's trapped underneath her hoop and
draws the foul.
Who are they going to call that one on?
It ended with a 1. That's all I heard.
Well, there's only one person who ends with a 1, and that would be Combs.
I guess we're going to call that on number 1. There we go.
So that would be Combs. As Weatherwax is going to drive it to the other end, and boy, I tell you what, she took kind of a hard foul there from McDonald.
I will say McDonald definitely elevated, had her hand straight up, nice block, but made the body contact to be called for that foul.
So Emma Weatherwax, who has the only bucket for the OSP Saints, is going to head to the charity stripe here for her first free throws of the afternoon. First shot is up and rims out, no good. As T. Yeast checks back in, and it'll be Combs checking out for Kentucky Premier.
And this Kentucky Premier team is a 6-player rotation this weekend. They've got some players out playing other sports, so they're at a roster of 6. So you'll see a familiar face out there constantly from Kentucky Premier.
And Addison Graham and was there another substitution? I saw Addison Graham check in for OSP Saints. In any event, Emma Weatherwax goes 0 of 2 from the charity stripe, and underneath it comes, and up for Barnes. That is no good. She gets her own rebound, and she's going to be tied up.
Tie-up. That's going to be Ohio Sports Post ball.
All right, possession arrow does favor the OSP Saints. Clock continues to run. We're under 8 minutes to go here in the second half. And that'll
I'm going to agree with the referee on that one. I had that as black ball as well. So
yes, no, that was correct.
White will get the next jump.
Yep. Yeah, we've already had a couple of tie-ups here so far in the second half. Everything is where it should be. So that is Addison Graham playing it, and she's going to drive it into the high post. She has it blocked, and she's going to have it taken away by Hadley French. French pushing it to the other end. French going to pull up, and she's going to reset everything. Well, check that. She's going to attempt a three-pointer. She's going to be short on that three-pointer. It's going to go out of bounds, and it will belong once again to the OSP Saints. So French has 6 points here so far. She's gotten a lot done on defense as well. And that's Weatherwax at the point. Has to take it away by McDonald. McDonald pushing it to the other end. McDonald's going to lay it up and miss that shot. Rebounded by Stewart.
Now, I'm not one to count chickens before they hatch or game plan too far in the future, but this Kentucky Premier team looks like they're going to be playing in a championship game in a few hours. Might consider slowing the game down a bit. Conserve some of that energy for their final opponent of the day.
So, hypothetically speaking, they win this game. If you are the coach of Kentucky Premier, how do you manage these next few hours?
Snack and fluids. Snack and fluids. Got to eat something, nothing too heavy. You've got to get some fluids in you, and I really think it's valuable at a tournament like this. Get together as a team, hang out as a team, continue to bond. It's early in the season, you know. being friends with your teammates, really important, especially in 5th grade. But knowing this Kentucky Premier team, they've also got other teams in the program here you could be cheering on, whether that's their 6th grade team.
And on the other end, there's a shot. That's up, and that's good. And I was obscured by who shot that shot.
It was a really nice left-hand finish by someone.
And that was a shot by number 11. Thank you, Kayla Cazell, our camera person, part-time spotter as well. So it's a 33-4 game. Timeout on the floor. Back after this right here on GBA TV. And we resume gameplay here. Court number 1, Dublin Jerome High School, Jeremy Scott, Spencer Giese, and we are at 5:39 to go in the second half of this one. It's Kentucky Premier 33, the OSP Saints 4. And as long as Kentucky Premier is ahead by 20 or more, it will be a running clock as we move along. Bringing the ball up for Premier, that is Dye. If you're wondering where the Saints points have come from, Weatherwax and Hunt have accounted for both of those buckets. And there's a shot that is up, and that is good for McDonald. And now it's a 35-4 ball game. Premier up by 31. At the point is Weatherwax. Weatherwax giving it up to Krosky. Krosky with a runner. That's up. That's no good. And it's rebounded there. Well, there's a scrum for it. And there's a tie-up, and this one should favor Kentucky Premier.
You know, another key aspect, I'd say, on the coaching side, you're in a game like this, whether you're up or down, this is a great opportunity to use it as practice. This is coaching time. Work on your set offense. Pull it out. Typically, with a margin like this, your leading team isn't going to be playing intense defense, so you can run some of your offensive sets a bit more fluidly. And if you are the team that's up, holy smokes, that's her third of the day, isn't it?
It certainly is. That is Combs with another three-pointer. 38-4 now. Premier leads the Saints.
Combs may be 4 for 4 today with 3 3-pointers and an inside finger roll just for her.
Which equates to 11 points for Combs. And out of bounds it goes. And is that off of Premier?
That was off Sarah Krosky's leg. And out of bounds, it's going to be Kentucky Premier ball.
As the clock winds to 4 minutes. 4 minutes and counting here in the second half.
And here's a nice touch by Kentucky Premier. You know, here you are. You've got a few moments left in the game. You're having other players play point guard for you, get some of that ball handling experience against a defense that's still hungry, still fighting.
Well, just kind of reminds you, and there's T. East inside. Kind of reminds you that at this level, it really and truly is all about experience and learning and getting all kinds of experience. There's a nice play by Yeast to get that ball, and they're going to call an over and back, but good job by Yeast to get there and get the ball to a teammate.
No, I mean, at the 5th grade level, none of these players are done growing, done improving. You have no idea who's the next post, who's the next point guard. For either of these teams, growth spurts happen. And, you know, you're never going to be told as a basketball player you're too good of a ball handler. So the more experience you can get at that, the better it's going to work for them in the future.
Ball knocked out of bounds by McDonald. As checking back into the game will be Hadley French for Kentucky Premier, out McDonald. So French in, McDonald out.
Timeout called by Coach Kelly Murray for Ohio Sports Plus.
With the score of 38-4 and 2:56 to go in the second half. You're watching it right here on GBA TV. All right, so we are back to the action, and what happened there was Kelly Murray was out of timeouts.
And she wanted one, and she knew she was out, and she still called one because she'd rather gather her players, coach them up, and allow Kentucky Premier the opportunity to shoot 2 free throws on that technical foul. You know, that's coaching.
It certainly is, and Dye misses the first foul attempt, and she's short on the second one. So, I mean, no harm, no foul, I guess.
No, I mean, no harm on a technical foul, I guess, but, you know, not a bad idea. When you need to talk to your team, it's okay. At the end of the day, 2 points either way doesn't matter. It's about lifting your team up, making sure that they know what the game plan is here for the last 3 minutes. Keep playing, keep growing.
So, Kentucky Premier does have the ball back. And inbounds it comes.
That might be the calmest technical foul I've seen in all my experience with basketball.
So true. French into the corner and comes to Dye. Back outside to Combs. Combs playing the point. She's got Addison Graham on her. Over to Barnes on the left wing. Why not attempt a three-pointer? That is up. That's no good. And there's a scrum for that loose ball. And who's going to end up with it? It will be the OSP Saints who end up with it. And that's East. Boy, I tell you what. Thought she was about to knock into our table over here.
Right, I didn't think we were going to have a camera anymore, but we still are broadcasting.
So here we go. There's a shot that is up, and that is no good. And underneath there were a couple of OSP Saints there. Neither one of them was able to corral it. And who's it going to be off of? It's actually going to be off of Kentucky Premier.
Yeah, I think when OSP looks at this game later, they're going to really think we did not get enough shot attempts up. And that can't score if you don't shoot.
Combs over to Barnes, and Barnes gets fouled on her way up. And so Barnes will step up to the foul line, and she will shoot a pair. By my count, that is the first personal foul by the OSP Saints this half.
Well, you know, it might be one of those games where it's going to have to be pretty egregious to get called at this point.
Yeah. We are at 1:45 and winding. Clock does not stop, and there's a bank shot. Free throw good. (39-4). And, of course, we will continue to be bringing you action here on GBA TV. Second day of the Celtic Classic, and that ball will rim out. And that rims out for Barnes, so she's 1 for 2 that trip to the line. On the other end, Weatherwax going to pull up and attempt a quick shot. That's no good, and out of bounds it goes, and it's going to come back to Kentucky Premier, who is up 35 as McDonald checks back in and Barnes will check out.
Tell you what, these OSP parents need to find a really good ice cream shop, good place for lunch, something. Make that loss disappear, forget about it. These are the ones you want to wipe away, learn a few things, and then move on and get ready to play your next tournament.
Outside. That is Dye. Post up for 3. And that's going to rim out on her. And there's a scramble for that loose ball. And it's going to be knocked out of bounds by Kentucky Premier. So say the striped shirts. So, with a half a minute to go, it is OSP with the ball. And there's a crossover dribble, pivot, pass, shot, and the shot's no good. And, ooh, Yeast got collided into pretty hard. And
that could do it for the rest of this game.
I think everybody's okay. And, yeah, they might just go ahead and sound the buzzer now because we're 3, 2, 1, and that's going to do it. That will do it for this game, the final. Kentucky Premier 39 and the OSP Saints 4, and we will be back with more action right here on GBA TV.